prophet Malachi. The book of Malachi is a final, fiery declaration from God before the long hush of prophetic silence settled over Israel for 4 centuries. It does not end the Old Testament with a quiet benediction, but with a thunderclap from heaven, a resounding call filled with urgency, divine love, confrontation, and unwavering hope. Malachi means "my messenger," and this title is no accident. It reflects the weight of the prophet's task to carry a sacred dispatch from the heart of God directly to a people who had grown dull in their devotion and deaf to the voice of their covenant-keeping king. Through the voice of this messenger, God unveils the spiritual erosion that had crept into the nation like a silent disease. The people had grown cold, their worship routine, their reverence diluted. They still came to the temple, brought offerings, still spoke the language of religion, but the fire of love and honor for God had faded. Yet even as he exposes their sin, God's intent is not to condemn them, but to call them back. He challenges their half-heartedness not with rejection, but with an invitation to something greater, a restored relationship rooted in awe, righteousness, and the flame of authentic worship. Malachi is more than just a prophetic book. The heartbeat of God made audible, a divine pulse that echoes through time, reaching past the ancient priests and apathetic worshipers, all the way to us today. It is the last trumpet of the Old Covenant era, blasting a warning and a promise. The day of the Lord is coming. But before that day arrives, there is time to return, time to remember, time to revere. Through his messenger, God pleads with his people, then and now, to come out of the shadows of compromise and into the light of covenant fire once again. The opening of Malachi reveals a God who speaks not in vague riddles, but with piercing clarity. He begins with a stunning declaration of love, a love that had chosen Israel long before they had anything to offer. This love was not abstract. It was proven through generations of faithfulness, protection, and provision. Yet instead of standing in awe, the people questioned it. "How have you loved us?" Their spiritual amnesia had hardened their hearts. They forgot the miracles, the mercy, and the favor that set them apart. In their blindness, they dismissed the love that had preserved them and instead returned cold, careless worship. God's grief quickly turns to holy confrontation. He exposes the corruption of the priesthood, those who were entrusted with the sacred responsibility of upholding truth and guiding worship. Instead of bringing their best, they offered blemished, crippled, and sick animals on the altar. It wasn't a lack of resources, and it was a lack of reverence. They gave God the leftovers and expected a blessing in return. They dared to lay before the Almighty what they would never offer to an earthly official. And God, burning with righteous jealousy, declared he would rather the temple doors be shut than receive such dishonorable offerings. He longed for authentic worship, not for his sake, but because his name deserved honor and his people needed to remember who they were worshiping. Yet God wasn't finished. He turned his gaze to the covenant community, and what he saw broke his heart. Marriages had become disposable. Covenant promises were treated like contracts, easily broken for personal convenience. Men were casting aside the wives of their youth, those they had once vowed to cherish, and entering into relationships with women who did not worship the Lord. This wasn't just a social issue, it was spiritual betrayal. It defiled the very sanctuary of God because marriage was designed to reflect his covenant faithfulness. God declared that he hates divorce not out of harshness, but because he loves wholeness, stability, and integrity. He witnesses every vow and holds his people accountable to their promises.